Hello, welcome back to A Boring Revolution, your number one news source of everything in regards to the Boring Company. No introduction today, we're going straight into it with our quarterly review, which is a little bit late. Been fairly busy dealing with some stuff, but don't worry, we're going to do this right and we're going to get ourselves up to date. Hell yeah. Okay, so let's go. Right, so as you can see, this document has been updated. A lot of new projects on, and I've been doing a little bit of work over the past week or so, trying to make sure they're as accurate as possible. If you've not seen this format before, basically, this is a list of all the projects that have ever been proposed by the Boring Company. Some of them on this list are hidden because I don't believe they're ever going to happen. So I've not really bothered continuing to keep them on the list. I've just hidden them away. So yeah, so a lot of these figures are guesswork. I've had to plot routes on maps and work out lengths and kind of guesstimate how much things are going to cost based on the strata that is beneath the city where the machine is going to be situated and things like that. So don't really read in too much detail about these numbers. They are a good estimate, yeah? They should be within 10 to 15% of what it's going to be, or maybe slightly closer than that, so that's all good. So first project to look at today is going to be the Chicago Express Loop. This project is an absolute no-go. As I've said many times before, it's just not going to happen anytime soon. So yeah, so as you can see, it would have been a big project, $358 million. It's on hold pending review, but it's going to be on hold forever. The probability of completion for this job is basically, I think I'm being quite ambitious putting that number there, 0.001%, but hey, that's where we are. Okay, so LVCC Loop, Las Vegas. I don't really need to talk about this project. This project has been completed, has been an incredible success. Remember, the cost per mile includes the stations. Given that this project has 3 stations and it is only 0.827 miles long, it kind of skews the cost per mile. Really, if we're going to be fair, we should be removing the cost of the stations and just working out the cost per mile of tunnel. But it's not really possible to do that with, basically limited information on some of the other projects. So I've not ended up doing it like that. Throughput for this project, 4,400 per hour. That will increase. It will be closer to 5,000 per hour by around Christmas time, just to make you aware. Okay, so I'm going to try and rush through these because really a lot of these are not going to happen. So San Jose Airport Loop, as you know, a lot of the projects on here, they involve connecting up the loops to local transport infrastructure or downtown. In this particular project, it's connecting the local airport to the train station there, which is interesting. I certainly like the project. We've not heard anything about this project for quite a while now, so I'm going to guesstimate that this one has also been scrubbed. Although you never know, it does have a very good use case. I actually quite like this project. So I've got 12% probability of completion on this one. Let's see what else we've got. Hawthorne Test Tunnel, obviously that is where I pull my videos from, the 116 miles per hour, plus there's another video I believe that goes up to 121 miles per hour. So this is where we're kind of proving the speed capabilities of the tunnel system, proving that it's safe to operate vehicles at high speed in there. That was completed at very minimal cost, below it's around 10 million it cost. I believe it cost slightly more than that, but Elon Musk said 10 million, so I'm not going to really go against that. So Dugout Loop, again, another project that was proposed and I should really put a date in on this actually. That might be a good little addition to this particular spreadsheet, is a date when proposed. Very good idea. I should add that on the end, and then we know when, how long this has been sat on the board for. 53 million, sorry, 3.59 miles. This is connecting up the Dodgers Stadium with the metro station, although it doesn't stipulate which metro station. Some people have been making videos really criticising this project. I think that it works better as a dual tunnel system, and I think if it does get built, it will be a dual tunnel system, so I'll have to change this. But you know, top speeds are going to be quite high in this one. 100 miles per hour top speed. Average speed is going to be around 86 if you include acceleration and deacceleration. Yeah, I think probability of completion on this one is continuing to fall, but it's still as it were in kind of a planning situation. So it might happen, although they might not be doing very much with it recently. So Resorts World. Obviously, I would really like to tell you that there's been lots and lots going on here. It's been very stagnant. There's been some issues. People have been emailing me about a particular issue. Two different theories here. One of them, which is quite worrying to say the least. We're just going to have to wait this out and just hope that whatever issue there is there, that it gets rectified and then the machine can start boring. Because obviously there are conferences and things like that need to start, and this construction work is hampering potentially those conferences starting. So again, not great to see that. A little bit disappointing, but in the end we just need to get going with it. So vehicles will get up to 75 miles per hour in this particular system. They'll probably average about 54. Throughput around 900 passengers per hour. It's a single bore tunnel, so you've got one above ground station, one underground station. It uses a ramp, not multiple ramps. That might change actually, but I'm still fairly confident that it's going to start and finish. Okay. And Colwyn Casino is like almost a direct copy of Resorts World. That'll be slightly longer. It's constructed in the area south of the Las Vegas Convention Center. Very, very similar in every way, really. Probably use maybe up to 12 vehicles. I believe this one is just going to be pure ramps, though. There will be kind of an underground station, but you'll be able to get out from both ends. So I think it's going to start around Christmas time, but I could be wrong. But you know, I guess we find out that way. Ontario Airport Loop, California. Again, another great project. This is in planning. It is pretty much a guaranteed win for the Boring Company, but again, you know, we're not 100% sure that it will go ahead. 4.17 miles. It's a dual bore system, so in reality, it's like 2.085 miles in length, and then there's two tunnels. Should be a good high speed on this one because there's one station at one end and one station at the other end, so there's no stops in between. Long distance, plenty of time for accelerating. Let's try and blitz our way through this because there's a couple of good projects I want to show you at the end, which are very important for this quarterly review. Baltimore Washington DC Loop would have been a huge project, very high speeds, plenty of throughput, plenty of opportunity for expansion. Really, regulators and planners have kind of really slowed this down, and the Boring Company is not going to be pursuing it, at least not in the near term. So I've put the probability of completion at 8.2% for this one. I just don't think it's going to go ahead. Okay, Fremont Supply Tunnel. This is a potential manufacturing link between the Fremont factory in California, potentially for batteries, potentially for seats, potentially for electric motors. Who knows? It was a proposal that was put forward. It's never been talked about by the Boring Company, but I always thought it was an interesting concept for kind of a non-vehicle tunnel. So we've got 2.18 miles. These are all speculative numbers. It could be a lot less than that. It could be a lot more than that. But hey, so it would actually involve a conveyor belt inside rather than vehicles for moving products. CERN particle accelerator, so that would be based in Europe. It'd be a perfect 100-kilometer circle, like an absolute perfect circle. So that would be quite a challenge for the particle accelerator. Obviously, they already have a smaller particle accelerator, which is, I believe, around 20 kilometers in kind of length in a perfect circle again. So this would be a lot bigger, a lot faster. Thus, it produce more interesting results, as it were, probably different results. Las Vegas Loop, Nevada. So this is the big extension that's potentially going to happen in Las Vegas, linking from kind of North Las Vegas all the way down south, potentially going to the airport as well, and then around the kind of the old parts of the strip there. And that's still in planning. Everyone was very enthusiastic about it. Have heard very little. Obviously, there's quite a lot of work that involves in doing that. I'm very confident this one's going to happen. The throughput potentially could be a lot higher than 20,500 per hour. Passengers per hour per direction. If you're wondering what this column is, it is basically half of that one, because obviously we've got 2 tunnels. So it's just dividing it by 2. So that's 10,250. 10 underground stations, potentially a lot more than that, but I guess we find out how many actually get built. Ramps and stations as well, 88% probability of completion. I need to stop doing that. Okay, here are some new projects. Probably go down here and just see how that looks. Okay, so these projects have appeared recently. They're obviously brand new projects. They're going to be important for the Boring Company. These projects are the ones that really we should be building, because the regulatory kind of environment that they're operating in is going to be good. People are enthusiastic. Local mayors want this. So most of these should happen. Austin Loop, Texas. So obviously the Gigafactory is being built in Texas. That's going to be opened in the next sort of 10 to 12 weeks, possibly earlier than that. And they're going to start manufacturing there. Okay, so this is obviously a key place for the Boring Company to build a system. I think that it will get approved quite quickly. Compared to, I think this was in last time when I did a Q1 review, I've increased the size of it dramatically, because I believe this is going to be dual bore. I believe it's going to link the airport to the Gigafactory. I think it'll be like a T-shaped system, so that ultimately results in more miles of tunnel. So I've got 29.88. It could be slightly more than that, could be a lot less, but I guess we find out. The reason that I've got the price per mile so low for this particular project is because I think the geology is really good. The chalk is excellent, not too hard, not too soft, reasonably unfractured. It's at a good level, below ground. So theoretically, that they should be able to hit some big speeds on this one and get this done quickly. I believe the top speed in this system would be 115 miles per hour. Average about 96. It isn't actually conceptual anymore. It's potentially gone into planning approval, so I should change that. Throughput 8,500 per hour. I think it could be a lot higher than that, but I'm just kind of playing it down at the moment. As per usual, I have very little documentation on this project, as with a lot of these projects actually. In fact, all these projects here: Austin, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, San Antonio Loop, Boca Chica, which is a new one. I have no documentation. The Boring Company have not made any concrete proposals. They've not submitted any potential routes. They've not submitted kind of the master plan for this particular area. So a lot of this is kind of rumours and guesswork and people reaching out to me. And ultimately, all this information will probably change slightly over time. So just be aware of that. So back to this one, Austin Loop. I think there's a good chance this will get built, so I'm going to say 85%. Again, all the start times and start dates is to be determined. Fort Lauderdale. So this is very important. I believe that this will be possibly one of the most important projects that the Boring Company ever does, because we're operating in an area where a lot of people are saying that it's difficult to drill, to bore. So if the Boring Company can pull this off and keep it on budget and finish on time, then that instantly makes my job running this YouTube channel a lot easier, because then I can just slap people down by saying, hey, this got done on time, on budget, to the correct quality standards. So that's a big challenge, but I think that it's a good route, nice and straight. There's some challenges, that there's lots of water bodies along the route, thus that's going to result in issues kind of with poor ground. But if they go deep enough, they should be able to get into the limestone quite quickly, and as long as they're not hitting any large cavities in there, they should perform pretty damn well. Any cavity less than sort of 7 or 8 inches is not really a concern, but anything above that potentially could cause some problems. So it depends how deep you want to go. I believe for this one it's 95 miles per hour top speed, 67 miles per hour kind of average speed in there, kind of cruising, acceleration, deacceleration, that sort of thing. Planning approvals have been sought. I believe the throughput will be above that. That is not, is that right? Looks around. Oh, that is correct actually. So it'll be 2. In fact, I think it's going to be three underground stations for that one. There might be a station in the middle as well. There might be a ramp as well at one end of it. 75%. I need to change that. 75% probability of completion. I think there's a good chance this will get built. The reason I've gone for 60, what did I go for? 75. I went for 75%, didn't I? The reason I've gone for 75% is because the geology is particularly tricky, and there's always that chance that maybe they might find something along the way, and then they might decide, hey, you know what? It's too much of a risk. We're going to mothball this project until we find the technology. Miami Loop is another one. Not as much detail on this particular project, but it looks a decent one. Let's have a look. So $150 million potentially. Again, that's a guesstimate. 18.59 miles. Conceptual, 150 miles per hour top speed, 88 mile per hour average. We now have our 2 kind of test tunnels, kind of proving grounds, manufacturing yards, technological ratification areas, whatever you want to call it. I just call it a test ground. These are very important. These are almost as important as the main projects themselves, because this is where technology comes to either prove itself or be thrown away. And it also allows them to get the machine into the local geology and test out, the machine where it needs to be tested out. Because if you're just going in blind and you've not really worked in these conditions, that is when, potentially humongous mistakes happen. Yeah. So they're not going to be spending insane amounts of money here, but they're going to be getting their machine into the geology, going to be testing it, going to be potentially running different types of cutter heads in there and various other logistics kind of systems, removing spoil from the area, installing segments, that sort of thing. So both of these are quite important. They're very, very similar, about the same length. There's a lot more land to use actually in Texas, so it might end up a bit longer than that. Similar kind of costs per mile, although I believe the ground in Bastrop in Texas will actually be better for tunneling, but it'll be harder ground. There's not really much to say on this. They have already started, and hopefully we hear a bit more about it at some point in the future. Okay, so here's 2 of my favourite ones. San Antonio Loop in Texas. So, what is it? This is reasonably big. I'd say this is the perfect size for the Boring Company at its current stage. It gives it, scope to kind of learn and improve, but also it's not excessively big that if you make a mistake, then it just kind of compounds itself. But 15.56 miles, 25.1 kilometers. The cost per mile is 5.862. If you've seen this Proof Rock 2 here, you'll know that the Boeing company recently released some video images of its new Proof Rock machine. I'm not entirely sure exactly what the difference is between Proof Rock 2 and the existing Proof Rock that's at Resource World. However, I'm guesstimating that this is tailored for going through the chalk in Austin, in and around Austin and kind of San Antonio, whereas the other Proof Rock is kind of better suited for the other geology in those particular areas, because obviously it's all schist in Las Vegas, so it's all fractured and there's a high water table, so it's very different. So it might just be that it's tailored for the specific geology that is being working, rather than any serious technical differences. Top speed, San Antonio is 115 miles per hour, 91 miles per hour kind of average speed. Planning approval is being sought for that one. They're definitely talking to local government officials. Throughput 6,400 per hour or 3,200 per direction. San Antonio is going to be linking the downtown area to the airport. I'm guessing that there's going to be only 2 underground stations. Again, I'd like to see some more details. If you have details, or if you have drawings or a PDF or some kind of map with kind of details on it, please send them to me so that I can get a better understanding of what exactly is happening in San Antonio. I believe there's a good chance this will be built, 78%. All the dates are to be determined. Okay, so let's finish up on this one. Boca Chica Tunnel in Texas. This one has only recently arrived. It was very lucky that it arrived actually this last week, because obviously I've had a few things on, and this quarterly review has fortunately been delayed, and then it got added on at the end. So in terms of what I know about this particular project, it's fairly minimal. Where SpaceX do their kind of launches in and around Boca Chica, it is kind of cut off by various kind of rivers and kind of low kind of, I don't know what you call them, like mudland, or kind of a low lying water. It's probably a very tidal area, so it kind of floods in and around Boca Chica. So it's got its own little island there, and there's a beach which people try and get to. Unfortunately, when SpaceX are launching their rockets, there's obviously a safety concern, so ultimately they close the local road. This causes lots of congestion and inconvenience for people. Obviously people live in this area as well. So there's been a proposal that they build a tunnel. I'm not entirely sure how long this tunnel is going to be. I just had a look on the map yesterday and this morning, and I've just determined that it's going to be in around 4 miles. So we'll stick for that at the moment. Other people are speculating that it could be nearly double that, but I don't think it needs to be. It's a difficult place to drill because you're basically going below sea level. The ground in that area looks really quite awful. But like I say, I don't know very much about it. But I think that I'm being quite optimistic with these kind of costs per mile. But there's going to be no stations, and it's just going to be road deck, and potentially it's going to be normal, just standard vehicles going through here, potentially even ICE vehicles as well. So there's going to be very, very kind of minimal infrastructure in and around. It's just basically a tunnel. But they'll probably need fire suppression equipment, and they'll probably need an advanced kind of road deck. So there's quite a few things that go in there. I think it could be a lot more than that, but then that could be less than 3 miles potentially. So it's difficult to say really how much it's going to cost, but I suspect the cost per mile might be more than what I'm putting here. But we've got to start somewhere. I think the speed will be limited to 70 miles per hour, but with acceleration and deceleration, it's going to be more like 52. Again, it's conceptual. I think it's absolutely limited to 2,500 per hour. It's a single tunnel, so 2,500 in one direction. With ramps at both ends. those ramps will need to be made so that they sit at least 2 to 3 foot above sea level. Otherwise, during storm, surges, potentially you could end up with a flooded tunnel, which you don't want. I'm a little bit more pessimistic on this one because I think the geology is quite difficult, so I'm going for 65%. But I guess we'll see what happens with Elon Musk on this particular one. But yeah, I do like Boca Chica. I think that it has a really good use case, and it's going to be interesting. I'll probably do a deep dive on that project at some time and kind of explain what the difficulties are and how you overcome them. Okay, so that was the quarterly review. I hope you enjoyed it. A lot of information there. I think that I'm going to make some big changes on this for the next one in terms of how this is laid out. Well, not really big changes, but kind of more make it easier to kind of read it and understand it. I need to add the dates when the projects were proposed as well. That'd be useful. Okay, so I hope you really enjoyed that, and I hope you learned a bit about the Boeing company and what they're doing. And yeah, I hope that a lot of these projects eventually get built. So yeah, thanks very much for joining me. And I guess I will see you on the next one. Don't be boring, and this document will be available. I'll put the link in the description below. So thanks very much. Okay, take care now. Thank you. Goodbye.
Excellent!
It's time to kick ass and chew bubble